finally, I'll quickly give an idea about which one to select, because the main dilemma is like I've covered 4 different options in networking where you can choose a career, probably which one to select. So if you're going with server administration, as I said, I already explained that server kind of roles. So basically, if you are a fresher and you want to get into a basic level job, probably you can add any kind of course like MCSE course where you can learn any kind of server and the basic CCNA course. Now this is something like the basic skill set you can add up with a basic job. Probably is something what recommend for the basic level, because I don't really say do all the things, but slowly, gradually, once you start learning, probably you can add up the skills depending upon the experience. But nowadays, just having, because most of the companies look for multiple skills again. So basically, if they are most of the small size companies, if they just have 1 or 2 servers, and they need someone to maintain the servers. At the same time, they have few routers and switches, and they also need to they also want someone to look after them with a basic internet connection without too many branches. It's just like a small company, like if you take an example of any hospitals or basic kind of supermarkets, or even some small MNCs. So maybe a call center or this kind of companies. So I just go with a lower to higher kind of things. So this is one kind of job role which you can get into. That is one option. Now basically, if you want to get a more better option, then you can advance your skills into networking, because the network is like the base for all the tracks. Even if you go with any big size companies, like let's say there is a Google, Microsoft also, they need someone to set up the network and maintain, and probably they may have thousands of devices, and they may have security devices. So they need a separate engineer for each role. Like they need a separate desktop engineer to maintain a desktop level issues, and they need a separate server engineer to maintain the server roles. So probably most of the people who do this, probably they can get into these roles, and even they need some network engineers roles. Maybe it can be like product based companies or service based companies, or even there are some network engineers like levels. Even they need network administrators. Now basically, if you want to make your career into networking, probably the basic minimum skills you need to possess is the basic routing switching, like CCNA, CCNP routing switching track. This is something, the minimum skills you can start up with. Like here, you can see the basic skills, I think in the next slide, the basic minimum skills. So this is something as a startup. So additionally, you can add up with any MCSE course, a server related job. So this is something you can sum up. So this will give a more better option where you can get into any Cisco specific job than a server specific job. Again, server specific job have limited growth options unless you really expertise in this, and it really takes a lot of time to be an expert in this, or even there's a limited scope here. But into networking, again, the more skills you add, the more growth options you have. But again, here it is like limited in most of the companies. So the next thing I can say, the first kind of, now again, it depends upon every individual financial and the skill set, what they can add up, because some people just want to start up with a basic job. This is something, a minimum I suggest. So if you want to start something bigger, probably I suggest you to add up the minimum skills. Okay, so if you want to get into a more better option, then you can plan for then you can actually add any expert level certifications. So most of these expert level certifications, generally you can either do as a fresher, or you can do it after getting some experience. So basically, any of these expert level certifications will help you to get into a big role. Probably even if you are a fresher or with 1 or 2 years of experience, probably you can target any one of these, not this design, but probably any one of these tracks. So slowly you actually add the skills. So you go like this, you start with this and you get into a basic job. Maybe you can add some 1+ years of experience, and then you can advance your skills into CCIE routing switching, or you can add some security track, or you can add any one of this track or wireless, and you can advance your skills. So the more you advance your skills, the more better growth options you'll find. But again, it's not like kind of programmer where you directly start with a high paid job unless you are an expert, unless you did some certification in CCIE. Even though you are a fresher, still you can get into a proper job, but you need to get certified. Now again, you can even, so if you're choosing for network security, again you have a better scope option. But whatever the track you choose here, the basic skills you need to have the routing switching, because the routing switching knowledge is something basic for most of the network related jobs. So not for the server administrator, but still, if you add this also, that will be an added advantage. And about to this, whatever you can add, but the more skill set you add, the more skill set you add in a profile, that will add more weightage. So if you want to make your career in network security also, still you need to have some routing switching knowledge to understand how the LAN and how the WAN works, how the company works, how the devices works, how they maintain. So if you add some security skill, probably you can still get into this basic level job initially. If you add some cloud or virtualization also, you need to have some basic networking skill. So the more you add the skills, the more it is good, but it doesn't mean that you just keep on adding the skills without getting into a job. But when you're planning your career, you need to keep on adding the skills, and you need to add some experience as well. Along with, you need to keep on learning. So the more you learn, the more you grow actually. So it's not like programming where you just get into one kind of job. But when you talk about complexity, it's not even 20% or 25% of what you exactly do at the programming level. Because this is something what I suggest for most of the low to above average students, because you have a better scope for this in the networking. But at the same time, you need to plan during the graduation. Probably you need to add the skills while you are doing the graduation or immediately after the graduation, because the more gap you have while selecting a job or applying for a job, the more it will be difficult for you to get into a job. So that's something what I suggest. So this